Welcome to the Mountaintop Joiner Shop. This is the second part of my tool cabinet tour and all the tools that are in it. And in this one I'll be covering everything that's on the back wall of the tool cabinet. Enjoy! Okay, for this episode I'm going to be looking at everything that's on the back wall of the cabinet, and as always I'm starting with it mostly or entirely empty. So you can see what the tool holders are shaped like, how they hold the tools, and of course as I add the tools to them you can see how they all go together, and I can add any little notes about the tools that I have as I go along. It'll be like a little inventory. So I'm going to start over here with this tool holder. You'll notice that this one's actually shaped like an eighth note. I didn't intend that originally, but as I was working on it, I started to notice that shape and I just ran with it. And I think it apropos because I am a drummer, a lifelong drummer, so to have that kind of hidden in there was kind of nice. And the tool that it holds is this guy. This is the Veritas Skew Rabbit Plane. Some people will call it a moving Philister as well. Although the little nicker on it I don't find particularly useful, so I don't partake of that little feature. But when I was first trying to figure out how to put this in the cabinet, I was at a little bit of a loss with how it's shaped and how heavy it is. But I did notice that I could take advantage of these posts. So these holes in the tool holder are actually quite deep, and when you put the tool into the holes, they kind of wedge in place via gravity. To add a little bit of security, I actually added a rare earth magnet in the back of there as well for the upper post. And that guy just goes in there like this. And of all the tools in the cabinet, that was probably the most awkward to get in and out of. But you can see it's not really that big a deal either. So that is the Skew Rabbit Plane. Right above that I have another tool holder, and to access that I actually have to move these panels out of the way. Now these panels have parquetry on them. It was the first little parquetry project I ever really did. This is quarter sawn cherry, curly maple, quarter sawn sapele. This little curve is actually leather, and these little accents are sapele infilled brass plugs. It's all flush, and it's on a shop-made hinge of sapele with little copper pins in it. And so when I want to get to this tool holder, I just flip it up. I have a little brass toggle or a little tab on the ceiling of the cabinet here that holds it up out of the way for me, and now I can get in there. And you know, pretty much everything in the cabinet is only one layer deep, so I usually have to do one other action, if any, to kind of get to something, and that's another case of that. And what goes there is my Veritas router plane. And as a hand tool heavy woodworker, I get a lot of use out of this. And I take advantage of these holes that are in the body of the plane, and I have brass pins there that correspond with them. I have a magnet back there, and I also have a recess, and that recess is if I want to put this away without changing my setting on the blade, if the blade's already sticking out the sole of the plane, that won't prevent me from putting it up here. So that just hangs on those brass pins and holds in place via the magnet. And behind the door here you can see I have kind of hidden storage. This is actually a roll of plow plane blades on that side. And on this corner here I have little slots for the extra router plane blades that go right there. And then there's a little ledge on top with a kind of a groove behind it that my little baby router plane fits into, my small router plane. That just goes right up in there like that. And you can see there's some accessories there as well. There's a little collar for a depth stop, and a little Allen wrench that goes with this guy hangs right there. And then drop my panel and it fits in there like that. Right here I have a spot for a tool that I probably could have talked about when I did the plane till, but I actually built this after the plane till, so it is what it is. That is a spot for my Veritas block plane. And this is a bevel up block plane. I have multiple blades for it, both a low and a high angle blade. I use the high angle blade quite a lot if I'm easing the edges of a board or something like that, and the grains running in and out. The higher angle blade seems to handle that better. And this holder is leaned back just a little bit, and it has a magnet in it, and there's a little heel here that holds the back of the plane. It fits just like that. Another plane that I could have talked about when I talked about the plane till, but again this was added later. This is my shoulder plane, and this is a Veritas medium shoulder plane, I believe. You often hear the advice to get as wide a shoulder plane as you can afford. which would be like a 1 inch in most cases. I found that in the course of having this plane that I've rarely felt the need to have a wider one. I think this plane sole on this is only about a 1/2 inch. So no big deal, this works for me. And I have a little slot here. At the bottom of the slot there's a little leather strip that has a hole in it, and that hole corresponds with the heel of this handle. So when I rest it on that heel, it via gravity wants to fall this way. So it's kind of press fit into that little gap, and I rest the heel on that little hole in the leather, and that kind of holds it in place like that. It's almost just a press fit, and it works really well. Next to that, I have this kind of funny shaped holder. This is for this little guy. This is a Japanese nail set. It'll work both in this direction and this direction if you don't have that much space to work with. It's a handy little tool. There's a little magnet right here that holds it from the side, just like that, and it just hangs in place. And you can see that this has been here long enough that there's actually kind of a reverse shadow in the cherry right there. Now I'll move down to here. Now I have a kind of an arched shape here with a curly maple ledge and a magnet right there. That spot is for the Veritas side rabbet plane. Now this is a kind of a break in case of emergency kind of one trick pony kind of tool. You don't use it very often, but when you need it, it really saves your bacon. So if you have a groove in a board that turns out not to be as wide as you need it, you can take a shaving off of either wall of that just by reversing this handle with this side rabbet plane. And that just sits on the ledge, and the magnet holds it in place just like that. I have another little kind of shelf or ledge right here with an ebonized cove molding below it. This is sapele, this is cherry, and there's a little cutout in it. And that is for this little guy. This is a Lee Nielsen, I think it's the Violin Maker's plane, if I recall the name of it correctly. Just a tiny little thing, super cute. And obviously it fits in the hand and is really good for doing small work, easing edges and things like that. That goes on the shelf, and you see that the recess in the cherry just is a press fit for the side of the plane. Goes right there. Right above that I have this kind of curved thing here. This holds all my Spokeshaves and edging tools. So right here I have the Veritas edging tools. These are to make little quarter rounds on your edges, as long as the grain doesn't run in and out a bunch. These are a great way to put a round over or a quarter round on the corner of a board quickly and easily. And these go everywhere from 1/16 of an inch up to a 1/4 inch. There's a leather pad right here, and there's magnets hidden behind it. And I also kind of use this hook shape to kind of hang it from there. Right here I have a couple of brass plugs that stick out that are infilled with sapele. That's where my low angle Spokeshave goes. So this one I don't honestly use all that much. It has a very low angle blade on it. It's really good for end grain, but typically when I'm in that part of a project, I'm using rasps and files more so than I am Spokeshaves. But that one has holes in the ends of the handles that I use. So that plug goes through that hole, and then it just rests like that. That's how that one hangs out in there. Above that, I have spots for 2 other Spokeshaves, and these ones I do use with some regularity. This is a flat bottom Spokeshave from Veritas. There's these little knurled wheels on here that advance the blade. I have little notches in this holder that correspond with those. And then there's a magnet that basically lands right at the back of the body of the Spokeshave, and that's how those hold. Same thing here. This is just a round bottom version of the same Spokeshave. And I have a little ledge here with another magnet. That one is for a Veritas cabinet scraper. This is basically a larger soled version of a old Stanley cabinet scraper. Nice and beefy too. That goes on that ledge, and the magnet grabs onto it. Now I'll lift this panel out of the way. You'll see I have more storage here. And this is just kind of miscellaneous stuff. I have little chamfer guide for my block plane. I have a depth stop for the side rabbet plane. And then I have extra blades for my scratch stock tool. And then this here is a moisture meter. And then I have an extra blade there for my block plane as well. And then I have this holder that has these 2 holes in it and a magnet in the back of it. That is for my old Stanley hand drill. And I've gotten questions about this. People thought it was new. This is actually a vintage Stanley. This is a number 617. I don't know how vintage that is, but I got it on eBay a while back and it's in really good shape, works really well. And I took the little knob off the back side of it because how am I going to use that knob? I don't see the point to even having it on there unless you have 3 hands. So these 2 holes here correspond with these 2 gears. And then that round spot where I remove the knob just fits into that hole and it gets grabbed onto by the magnet like that. And you can see that the crank handle just clears that cabinet scraper. Now I have a little tool holder in the corner here. This one has a ledge at the bottom, a magnet at the top, and then part way up it you'll see kind of at an angle there's a very shallow dado that has a brass backing to it. That is for this guy. And this is the Veritas iron edge trimming plane, I believe they call it. And what's nice about this plane, you know, again, it's kind of a one-trick pony. You don't use it a ton, but when I do, it's to joint the edges of really narrow stock, the kind of stock that's narrow enough to be difficult to balance like a big bench plane on. So that tool will come in handy for those operations and fits right onto that ledge. And the little dado there corresponds with the mouth of the plane, and even if the blade is advanced a little bit, there's a recess there that it won't damage the tool holder. Now we're down to the last one, and this is kind of the crown jewel of the main case, and that's this gap right here. That is for my shop-made dead blow mallet. I've had this for many years. The wood for the head for this actually came from an old shipping pallet that came from the South Pacific, I believe. I don't know what wood this is. I think it might be Paduke. Who knows? But there's chambers inside this that are filled with lead shot, and it's faced with actually horse butt leather. I had a horse butt strap, which is supposed to be the best kind of leather strap you can buy, and I was just dabbling with strapping at the time. I don't strap at all anymore, so I ended up sacrificing that to make the faces for this dead blow mallet, and it's held up really well over time. I mean, I can really wail on stuff with this thing. And I did a maple handle that just kind of hand-shaped and added a little decorative flourish with some brass plate, a little pommel on the back there with my initials, and that just goes right there. And once you put it in there, you can see that this kind of takes the shape of like a bird of prey, and that's I like birds too. So that is kind of the hidden motif there too. So I have an 8th note and I have a bird of prey hanging out in here. So that is the back of the main case. And if you look for the next episode, it will be about the right-hand door, and then after that I will do the left-hand door. So thank you for watching. Now if you like what you saw here, please hit like and subscribe. It helped me out a lot. Also hit the little bell icon if you want to be notified anytime I release a new video. And if you didn't like what you saw here, keep it to yourself, pal. Or watch one of my other videos. You might like one of those. Thank you for watching.